Good Capitalism, Bad Capitalism, The Role of Business in South Africa, written by prominent economist Prof Raymond Parsons, together with Ali Parry, suggests that South Africa is a country of contradictions, where ethical leadership in both the public and private sectors has been increasingly overshadowed by opportunism and greed. As a result, the country is more divided than ever before, and tensions are mounting. High levels of unemployment, poverty and inequality in South Africa also mean that not enough people have a stake in the economy to uphold and defend. Joining us now here in studio is the author of the book, Good Capitalism, Bad Capitalism, The Role of Business in South Africa, Prof Raymond Parsons. He's also from the Northwest University School of Business and Governance, the SBG. A very good morning to you, Professor, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you, Elvis, and good morning.
First and foremostly, talk to us about the book itself, Good Capitalism, Bad Capitalism, and why that particular title.
Well, Elvis, I think our point of departure for all of us in South Africa has been we want a bigger, stronger and better economy which is going to create jobs, which is going to alleviate poverty and do all the good things that we've in fact promised many people over many years we are going to do. But to do that we need two important pillars. The first is we need a democratic government which is responsible and accountable to the voter, hand in hand with a private sector which is dynamic and also accountable to the public and to its stakeholders. And the important point here is that really if we want to achieve what we want to achieve in South Africa, we need the good politics that makes for the good economics and the good economics that makes for the good politics. And when we talk about capitalism, I know we have to talk about the isms like socialism, capitalism, communism and so forth, but really the message of the book is whether you're talking about the street hawker, the small business or the big corporation, we need strong entrepreneurship in South Africa, inclusive entrepreneurship, not just the fact that you and I have got livelihoods, but that there are people out there who want livelihoods and jobs. So the whole question is, how do we get there? Given the fact that we have a new president, there have been new promises made, we're hoping that we are going to turn a corner in the South African economy. What do we have to do right? What are the right decisions which are going to carry us forward and enable our private sector, in the broadest sense of the word, to make its maximum contribution to jobs and growth and all those other good things that we want.
The subtitle of the book, The Role of Business in South Africa, what does the book suggest then should be the role of business in South Africa in relation to our economy?
The important point is we need entrepreneurship. We need entrepreneurship from the very smallest to the very largest in order to move this economy forward. And our president would not be emphasizing his concern about investor confidence if he didn't believe that it is important to get this economy moving, that we need the private sector to do so. Of course, there has to be a good relationship between the government and the private sector. And that's an important theme that also comes out in the book. As I said, there's an interdependence between the economics and the politics. But we haven't got it right. Things went wrong. And now we have to put them right. And so we've got to come out of this change, of this political change, being able to say we can translate this political change into economic benefits on a much bigger scale and have a much more inclusive economy than we've had up until now.
Talking about inclusivity, we know that business is the main driver of the economy, yet for many years it has been a passenger in economic policy making. Is there perhaps, Professor, a new social compact needed between business, government and even labour to find that collective solutions that we require for the country?
We do require these collective solutions and they require a number of preconditions which we can't all discuss now, but one of them is, importantly, that you need the private sector, apart from what they decide at an individual level, whether to invest or employ or expand their business. What you also need at the policy level is a collective voice on behalf of business, that the organizations that speak for business need to be more streamlined and more, in fact, more, or should I say, less fragmented than they are at the moment. If if you look at the various employer and indeed the business associations, you find that the total is less than the sum of the parts. What you have at the moment when you hear the voices of business is a cacophony of acronyms, and it's very difficult to know who speaks for business, and this is not good for policy making. And I've heard one former president say, give me one phone call to make when I'm seeking the overall voice of business. So I think the important point that comes through in this book is that our policy making would improve if there was less duplication and less fragmentation in the organized business world. And I make some proposals as to how that can be improved so that these overarching goals can be better served by the voice of business.
In your book, you also address the exclusion faced by a large majority of black South Africans from the South African mainstream economy, and how does that then affect the South Africa's economic growth and our potential?
I think this is absolutely important. If there is anti-capitalist sentiment, it stems to a large extent from the fact that too many people feel excluded from the system. They either don't have jobs, or they are very poor, or they're not getting entry into markets. They want a share of the action. And one of the important points of the book is, how do we enlarge that participation? Where can we build on the existing system and expand it in such a way that, as you said earlier, more people have a stake in the system to uphold and defend, because they want to share the benefits of the system. And one of the important messages of the book, and one of the important issues on our national agenda, is how our business community and government can collaborate on a better basis to turn this economy around and make more people feel they are a part of it.
Good Capitalism, Bad Capitalism, the Role of Business. Is this a more forward-looking book for South Africa? And how does it really compare to your previous books, Zoomonomics and Zoomonomics Revisited?
Well, Elvis, I think what I've tried to do by drawing on the lessons of business history, which teaches by analogy, obviously. We must draw from those lessons, both politically and economically, and then use that as a foundation to look into the crystal ball, which is what I try to do, and say, well, given this experience with business, with politics, what has gone wrong in the last few years? What agenda do we need to turn the situation around so that we can build an economy which is bigger, stronger, and better, and that more people have confidence in the future? And I think the important point now is to ensure that by the right collaboration between the government and business, we can turn the economy around, and that all these hopes that have been expressed for the future can be turned into reality. And for that, we need to take the right decisions and the right choices about the future. And the final chapter in the book says, well, what are those choices? And what are the dangers if we don't make the right choices and we don't send out a message that there are better times coming for all South Africans?
Former Finance Minister and currently one of President Cyril Ramaphosa's 4 investment envoys, Trevor Manuel, was part of the panel discussion when the book was launched. What is his take on the book?
Well, his take was that this book does make a contribution to this very debate that we are talking about. Where do we want to go with the South African economy? How can we get it to perform better? And the important point also is that we need to make some tough choices. I think there are no soft options now. There are some difficult choices. But to make those difficult choices, you need as much collaboration as you can get. Otherwise, you will merely generate conflict, because these tough choices are not always going to be very popular. So the important point, coming back to the issue of a climate of indeed collaboration between key stakeholders. We've spoken primarily here about business, but you can include, of course, our labour constituency, very important. They're part of whatever social compact or what social cooperation might emerge. So it's very important that we now move forward in South Africa. If we want a bigger, stronger and better economy, that we move forward as a team and not as a lot of factionalism, either within the economy or indeed within politics. If we can't get a more unified approach, we will not get the growth and the employment and the anti-poverty implementation of steps that we need. The great thing is now indeed, as much as I'm enjoying talking to you, I must also add that if we could factor talking into our growth rate, we wouldn't have a problem.
I presume that this book is available in all good bookstores?
Yes, if you hurry, you have to hurry, but I understand it's had a very good reception. I think someone said, fortunately, from his perspective, he felt that it was the right book at the right time on the right issues. And so I'm hoping that that's the message that will go out not just to the business community, but to all other important decision makers in South Africa who want to see a better and a more hopeful South Africa.
Professor, I thank you so much for joining us here in
Thank you very much.
That was Professor Raymond Parsons of the Northwest University School of Business and Governance, the SPG, also the author of this brand new